Good morning, everybody. You are tuned to Computers 2K Now on the Nissan Communications Network. I'm Amnon, your host for the next couple of hours, along with Nick.
I am not your host, thankfully, for the next couple of hours.
And Gal is here.
Good morning.
Good morning. And Spence is here.
Yes.
Good morning. Our number is 919-518-9773. Computers 2K Voice on Skype. And today's show is sponsored by vMix Software, by DudeInIT.com, and is sponsored by Tom Sinclair of Live Streaming Gear. So, yeah, Nick said he's happy he's not the host this morning. Remember last week I had a problem, couldn't host the show. And it's interesting. A couple of people said that Nick trying to help me to get things back up, and it sort of like went from bad to worse when we were setting restore points and all kind of stuff, and things just didn't work. So I said, nah, that's it. I'm gonna have to
cancel the show.
No, I'm gonna have to reinstall and get another computer probably. And I went ahead and I backed up all the profiles and things that I could back up. And then suddenly it hit me when I was looking at the computer, rolling under the disk. There's another drive sitting down at the bottom, disconnected. And it hit me. I said, oh, this is a clone drive.
Oh.
And every time I clone a machine, if it has a drive inside it, after the cloning is done, I disconnect it from power and from the controllers. So if something happened to the computer, it will not clobber the drive. Now, every week we say, practice safe computing, back up your hard drive. Well, like Sarid said, I did not really follow it through this way because I put the clone and I brought it up and everything came up. But when I looked at it again,
Well, I mean, you're over here on your, as I was once called, from your ivory tower, telling everybody to back up their computers, and here you are. I'm not doing it yourself.
Yeah,
so
it was from the end of 2020.
Oh,
but luckily, not many things change on this machine because all I do is the production.
Well, that's what I was just going to say is, you've got this computer is not your daily driver.
Right. Correct.
So,
and I got to admit,
fortunate for that.
I'm not that religious about doing it on my daily computer, although there are other backups that are happening automatically, but I did a clone since. I brought it up and did some Windows updates, updated vMix, restored all the profiles from the NAS drive, things like that. And I looked at all the programs that I use that I need were there. It took a few hours, but everything went back to normal. Then at the last Windows update, it clobbered the sound drivers. The audio driver.
How is that not expected?
Yeah.
Right.
So I was looking, and I got in touch with Nick because it's two heads are better than one always. And yeah, it changed the name of the thing, so I had to go in and change the audio drivers for some of the profiles, and the one that I don't use, I figured it's okay. When I use them, I'll update it then. And that was it. Oh, and I turned off the computer last Sunday. Wrote it up back Monday. Everything is working after the shows that I did on Monday. Turned it off, and I turned it on last night. Everything is fine. So, knocking on wood, everything is okay. So, Nick does not have to host it today. He's happy.
I'm not happy. I'm glad that you got your stuff figured out, though. That's good.
That was I mean, I started pricing motherboards and processors, memory, and
Why didn't you build the $15 minimal viable computer? Did you guys see this?
no.
Well, we don't have to talk about it now, but some guy, it's based on bulk pricing for the components, but he actually came up with a Linux computer that could be built for $15 worth of components.
Mm,
It's actually fascinating. I'll put a link in the chat.
I guess.
So,
go ahead.
I just recently watched I watched a video last night. It kind of goes into what you were just talking about, Am, on it. You've got a lot of older hardware.
Yeah.
And the video I watched last night was from Linus Tech Tips. I'll throw it in chat in a little bit. They were discussing, hey, if right now the prices of computers are very, very expensive. The components for computers are very expensive. I mean, you can drop, if you're buying things on the secondhand scout market, you could drop $2,000-$3,000 on a graphics card. They're very expensive. So it was interesting to see that they started looking at Intel's 5th, 6th, and 7th gen processors, which at this point are 8 years old, and the processors are very cheap, but the motherboards are very expensive. And
you need memory.
I was trying to. And DDR3 memory is very expensive as well. And then they talked about this thing that they called the bathtub curve with hardware. We all know what a bathtub looks like, right? It's like that. It's a U. Well, CPUs very rarely fail. So you've got a whole bunch of those in the market, which drives the price down. But hardware with capacitors and things like that, like a motherboard, you get 6, 7, 8 years into that, you can start seeing failures again.
Mm-hmm.
You probably won't see that on a CPU. There's not components on a CPU that are going to just go bad. But on a motherboard, you can. So while you might be able to get a 5th or 6th gen i7 for $30 or $40, you're going to pay out an exorbitant amount on a motherboard, because those devices are now all reaching the end of their life and starting to have failures. So there's less motherboards on the market than there are chips, which creates scarcity, which causes the price of those motherboards. You could spend $200 on a motherboard that works for, and Anna, I think when you were looking at replacing some stuff, you probably saw the same thing.
Yeah, the motherboards.
Those older gen motherboards are very expensive because motherboards have capacitors and things like that fail over time.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously they're not being produced anymore. Nobody's producing new motherboards for, the i7 4770K or whatever. So it's a very interesting problem. And you are better off buying a cheaper Ryzen 5 or something like that than you are getting an older, cheaper CPU, because by the time you buy DDR3 memory, which by the way is outrageous right now because nobody's producing it, and an older motherboard, you will spend pretty much the exact same amount of money and have 8+ year old hardware. So it's very interesting. I hadn't really thought about that being the problem, but it's a simple scarcity problem.
Yeah,
Very
I mean,
interesting.
I was kind of discouraged. I said, gosh, I have to spend all this money now on this and come up with something that's
Well, because you would think, oh, a 7-year-old motherboard, cheap.
Yeah.
Not cheap, because there's so many of
Mhm.
these dirt cheap CPUs floating around. Way more CPU. You probably have 2 or 3 times the number of CPUs that you have motherboards.
right.
Simple supply and demand.
And
So
there,
I just threw the video in chat. It's a very interesting video, and it's particular to gaming on this one. But he goes through it, and they compare an older an i5 to an i7 to a Xeon from about 10 years ago. It's a very interesting video.
yeah, and there I have 3 dual Xeon servers. The one you sitting in the office against the wall. We're in with I think 32 gig of RAM each. I can't use them because they're way too noisy. I mean, I'll have to put them in another room and get long wires here. And even then, I think we found out that to use an i7, it's more effective than to use a dual Xeon. And these are the 5450 of because they don't have
Hyperthreading.
hyperthreading. And yeah, it was. I mean, when I went from
And that's
those,
from 2007. The 5450 is from
Yeah.
2007.
right. I
That's
mean,
a
these are
very
old.
chip.
Yeah, these are old
Yeah.
machines, but they do, when they work for what they're working for, they're great. I just took them off of Delta Force when we moved, and
Yeah.
they are workhorses. And it again, it goes down to some motherboards. The capacitors will go bad in no time. Some of them would last forever. I remember when Mike was replacing capacitors on motherboards for people, and it was amazing the range of years that people had those. But yeah, I mean, thank God this was fine, and I was really going to use when I saw the prices like what you're talking about. I was going to use the 4770 that I have, the previous machine that was here.
That's a great chip, by the way. That's still one of the best bang for your buck chips
Well-
that's ever been made. The 4770 is phenomenal.
Yeah, we took it out because needed something faster, or I felt like I need something faster. So now CPU usage is 28%, 26%. When I do all this with the 4770, it was at 60%. Big deal.
Mhm.
I mean, today when I think about it, when you think about spending a few $1,000s, well, it's fine, no big deal.
Yeah.
But then this machine
It's interesting
straightened out,
how
and
over
that was good.
time I built this FX machine a long time ago. It's 8-core. And in the beginning, when I was using XSplit and other things, the CPU utilization was way up. I mean, I was getting notifications all the time, excess CPU, excess CPU.
Mhm.
And then over time, I didn't change anything. Physical hardware didn't change, but it's gotten better to the point where it keeps coming down. So either it's a combination. I'm sure it's not just XSplit, which I'm not using today, but
Yeah.
Well, it's the
Yeah.
as you mentioned, even though the hardware hasn't changed, the video codecs and things of that nature
have
have
improved. Yes.
severely or have have what's the word I want to use?
Yeah, incredibly
improved
improved
greatly.
themselves. Greatly.
Yes, have greatly improved over the past couple of years.
I remember actually hiring or putting in motion hiring somebody to rewrite drivers for some network gear that we had because some of the drivers were so sloppily done that they improved them like by 200% by finding somebody who actually knew how to clean up a driver. It was amazing.
Yep.
Apparently, a
But
lot of people rely on just copying and pasting what other people have done because it works.
Oh,
When
that's
there could be
programming.
a lot more elegant way to do it and save a lot of cycles.
That's a GitHub and
Yep.
or a Stack Overflow. Just find somebody's solution, plop it into your code, and you're good to go.
Yep.
and this morning, Gal is having some configuration difficulties because he moved to Linux to do this, and this is a bold step. We talked about it. So, Gal, what happened?
I don't know. Pretty. I'm at the lowest point. So I have a
Don't
T-shirt
jump.
says I have a T-shirt saying I hate programming. I hate programming. I hate programming. It works. I love programming. This is starting to be my feeling with Linux. So I love a lot about the desktop environment in Linux. I'm using it now as the daily driver. I managed to. There are a few tasks that I'm still figuring out how to do well. One of them is photo management. There are great applications, but everything about the setup is it's not ready for prime time. It's not ready for the uninitiated user, the person who doesn't want to or doesn't have the ability to dig into the logs, into figuring out the conflicts, into it's not impossible. There's a lot of information out there, but it's tasking. It's complex. This is the first time I think I've been in this setup for about a month now, maybe 3 weeks, 4 weeks, I think. Yeah. And this is the first time I'm doing the show from the Linux machine because every single time just setting up the webcam or audio issues. Today, I've already had during the show to reboot the machine twice. Now I use it for video conferencing throughout the week. Didn't have any issue. This is the first time I'm having issues. I don't know why,
Yeah, but normally during the week you use just Zoom.
but that's what I'm using right now.
Yeah, but there
Zoom.
is a little bit more, isn't there? Well, maybe not.
Now
You're right.
specifically, no, just
Yeah.
Zoom and a web browser, right?
Yeah.
You're doing all the heavy lifting on your end, so I don't
Okay.
know. So it's a mixed bag of feelings of what's going on with this. I love the stability. Well, I wouldn't call it stability, but the resiliency. So I can go back and forth with the system states the way I want to, something that Windows doesn't do. I do know that Mac OS has similar functionality. So anybody with a Mac probably knows that. But on Windows, I mean, you've experienced the restore point mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sometimes it works, but
Yeah.
it's not something you can rely on. Here, I know it works. And even with that, at first I had an issue, which I opened a bug for and figured out how to resolve. But something that, somebody who slaps the USB, installs the OS, thinks he has everything set up because he was choosing all the defaults, and then only to realize that there was an issue that requires some know-how to fix. So it's I like it. I like it when it works, but there's the saying of Linux, you never need to reboot a Linux. I've rebooted this machine a lot more than I rebooted Windows in the last 5 years. So it's not there yet, and you need to be I need to be very patient when I'm working, because something will come out unexpected and I'll need to deal with it. And I'm learning a lot. I love the end result, but getting to the end result can be taxing. So not something I recommend blindly to anyone.
Yeah, that makes sense. And as long as you are able to learn from it, that's a plus any way you look at it.
That's the main reason I'm doing it, right? And I can. This machine used to be shared with me and my son. Now that he's out for college and he has his own machine back in his apartment, then I could finally, put myself in this. My wife doesn't use this computer. She has a computer of her own. So
you can
I know
afford.
I'm not bothering anybody else with my shenanigans, right? But today, starting the day by trying to figure out some technical stuff when all I want to do is just have it work for the couple of hours that we have the show.
Mm-hmm.
It's frustrating, and
it can be, but don't let it. Yeah.
Well, hold on, Gal. I want to ask you a question here.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible? And I'm trying to figure out how to articulate this. Is it possible that you are trying to do too much of the customization stuff and creating some of your own problems? Like, for example, if you threw a total beginner, for example, I don't know how tech literate your wife is, but if you just threw Linux on her computer, do you think because you have the technical knowledge and know what it can do, you may push it further than the general consumer would, and maybe that's creating some of the issues? Do you see what I'm trying to say?
Mm-hmm.
I see what you're trying to say, and the answer is, while I may be doing that, that is not the case. My problem is with the simple tasks that on Windows are simple, right?
Interesting.
Just launching Zoom and making sure that my audio and my video are workable, right? It is a chore. Installing Zoom is very simple. Installing OBS is very simple. Making sure the audio actually works might work by the defaults, but then again, might not. It's like a crapshoot every single time. So, it depends on whether I've already booted it before or it's a fresh reboot. There are things that, as a Windows, these are the things that we would have complained about at the days of Windows XP, at the days of even Windows 7, right? There were small issues that threw the entire workflow to the side. And while if all I need is the command line, Linux is a beast. When it comes to server management, backend, there is nothing compared to that. Windows cannot. In my line of work, I work with Windows servers. There is no comparison. You cannot bring it down to its knees, right? You will always have an out. With this, it's like 15 minutes ago, suddenly, right, Zoom decided to notify me that the microphone is out of reach. But instead of just giving me a notification like in Windows, I get like 10,000 notification, a lot of windows opened. I couldn't do anything except reboot. This shouldn't happen, right?
No.
It doesn't matter what. It shouldn't happen. Stuff like that. So I think I think the problem lies with there aren't enough desktop users in Linux world. There are a lot of servers. There aren't a lot of desktop users. And because there's no desktop users, there's no money. Nobody's creating software for a Linux desktop in an enterprise, right? There's no the there's nobody doing the extra mile that I mean it's an 80% 20% world, right? Nobody's doing the 80% work that needs to be done on the 20%, the last 20% on the final finishes to make things super stable, to make things um, um, super convenient. So it's all down to enthusiasts, and there is a huge market out there of distributions that are targeted at different types of users, but not at audio video users, probably not at gaming as well, until we actually see the Steam Deck, right? And that is probably when that's going to change.
Yeah, they'll ship out I think starting next month, I believe, or maybe So
Yeah, and we know
that's right around the corner.
And I'm pretty sure we're expecting the first 6 months to a year to be a shit show, right? It is going to be terrible at first. I mean, it's going to be a lot terrible than Switch was at the beginning.
I wonder what happened with. I remember several years ago there were some high-profile companies that decided to go with Linux desktops. You remember this? IBM?
It was in China. Wasn't it a bunch of companies in China that did it?
But IBM actually did. I'm trying to find evidence that they stayed, but I'm finding stories as far back as 2007 saying IBM was going to move all their employees to Linux desktops. And I wonder how that worked, because what an enormous support change, right, to put in place, even though they did buy Red Hat and all that, whatever. I wonder how that worked. I need to talk to some of the people I know that still work for IBM and find out if they did stick with Linux. Yeah, I found one story. It says IBM is not going to use Windows Vista. They're going to go with Linux. So you know how old this is. So, but I remember Amnon. I remember we had these talks with Param back in the day.
Yeah,
about how Mac used a Unix kernel, but whatever they did to make it easy to install and disinstall software was very good. I mean, obviously they spent enormous amounts of money getting this to work. Well, you could literally go and there wasn't an installer per se. You just dropped the files into a folder and it would work. And then when you wanted to uninstall it, you just deleted them and it was gone and it worked.
That's isn't that the way it was in Windows 3?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but you still had to tweak the config.sys and control whatever, because you'd have. Do you remember that? You'd have to boot a different environment depending on what software you wanted to run.
Yep. Yeah.
You had to tweak it. So I've stopped. I went through the whole thing. I tried to put Zoom on a Linux desktop and got it to work kind of. And then when updates would come out, I was like, this isn't worth it. It wasn't worth it. And it was older hardware too. So that I was struggling with that.
It'll get there. It'll get there. Just give it time.
That's the thing. It'll get there. Yeah. It's just going to take, it's where we are, the way I feel right now, we are in the Linux desktop world. And I don't care which distribution you are, because I'm seeing when I'm searching for results, right, for fixes, I see issues that span left and right on different desktop environments. So it has nothing to do with the distribution and the what I'm using. We are at Windows XP stage, where it's finally a great OS. It's no longer Windows 2000. It's no longer Windows 3.11, right? It is finally usable. we like the workflow and all that, but it is clunky. It's gonna crash. I'm gonna have issues. Issues that I do know I are very rare now in the Windows 10, Windows 11 world. Okay, that's the feeling I
Well,
have right now.
You know, God, some people take pills to keep their brains going. Some people play word games and all kind of apps to exercise brains. Some people install
Install
Linux and try to figure it out. I mean, anything that uses your brains, and you need to sit there and utilize it. And here you're learning something, and it's great. And I'm sure the stuff that you learn, other people will be able to benefit from too.
I mean, maybe, but I am not a developer of a Linux desktop
Right.
environment
Yeah.
and of Linux desktop applications. So I'm not really sure what I'm learning right now. I mean, I know I'll be able to help others, right? But I am at the brink of the only reason I'm sticking with this, right, is because I'm a tinkerer.
Mhm.
The file system that allows me to go back and forth with the system setup, right? This resiliency that I get, this peace of mind that I get, I am sticking for that. That
Okay.
is the main reason I'm
Yeah.
using this.
Which is fine.
But I am getting this close to deciding that this isn't the solution.
Well,
And I'll probably go back to Windows. If this keeps on, I'll go back to Windows and revisit Linux in about 2 to 3 years. I definitely wanted it to be more than this, and I usually give things a lot more of a chance. But after a month of using it, the frustration I'm getting from day-to-day activities, I don't think it needs to be there, right?
it shouldn't. You should have
Yeah,
something.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so it's not there yet. It's not the right
It'll
tool.
get there.
I
Eventually.
know that as I've gotten older, I have less patience. I used to spend hours and late nights tweaking and fooling around. I remember trying, Amnon, remember Windows Home Server
Yeah.
and Windows Media Server?
Media server.
And just trying to install that. And I had capture cards and I had tuner cards, and I was trying to use it for over-the-air recording. And I spent hours and spent hundreds of dollars trying to get this to work. Right? They had fancy remotes, and just it was amazing what was out there. It was a whole cottage industry. Never got it to work right. Never. And it just no, but I mean, I learned from that.
Yep.
But I also now pick my battles. So I don't
Exactly.
You pick your battles.
It's all about
'cause you
picking
just
the
can't-
battles. I agree.
All right. Let's switch something here. On last Monday, Spotify, famed singer-songwriter Neil Young had his music removed from Spotify
I canceled my subscription. I love Neil Young.
as a protest against the platform distribution of Joe Rogan, who's been widely criticized for spreading misinformation about COVID-19 vaccines on his Spotify exclusive podcast.
So read the last sentence that you just read again.
As a protest against the platform's distribution of Joe Rogan, who's been widely criticized for spreading misinformation about COVID-19 vaccines on his Spotify exclusive podcast.
Yeah, that's not even accurate.
Well, now Neil fans are taking their frustration out on Spotify. A few days later, Joni Mitchell did the same thing.
Two icons that we hate to lose.
Yeah.
You know who else is doing it?
I like the music, but I don't know what the market was for it.
Do you have the third one, Amnon?
No.
Barry Manilow is also
You're
pulling his
kidding.
music, and
No, that went. I'm still not sure whether he is or he isn't. because he came out kind of wishy-washy about it. So yeah,
If I lose Barry Manilow, I will have no choice but to cancel my Spotify subscription and write my congressman.
yeah, but what about
Look,
what about the
You're
Copacabana?
joking. You're all
Nick?
joking aside, right?
What?
Remember that those who pay for Spotify are the older generation, not the younger generation.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
those
but
who
are you
are
gonna?
leaving the service are the older ones,
The ones that have
I
money
mean, I
to
guess so.
to pay.
the one who are actually paying for the
Yeah.
service. So yeah, joking aside, you're correct, right? They are the less. They're not the biggest modern new hits, but they are the ones who are paying the bill.
Easy listening.
Yeah, but how many subscribers does Joe Rogan have on Spotify?
I don't know.
12
Yeah,
million.
but they're not bringing any money, any of his subscribers.
I would
But if they
think
subscribe to
Advertising
Spotify,
is bringing money.
no,
but
that's
not-
because he puts
Okay, yeah.
he puts stuff. The only way to watch Joe Rogan without Spotify is to hope that he puts something up on YouTube or whatever, because you're not going to be able to watch it.
yeah.
So you have to pay for subscription to Spotify to be a live watcher of
Yeah.
it.
According to this, he's got 345 million listeners on Spotify.
and
Damn.
that's coming from Spotify or other places.
It's on a couple of websites talking
Okay.
about
well,
listenership. I mean,
how
I don't know
many?
how accurate. 345 million.
Is there still a
345
free
million?
is there still free access to Spotify at any form?
Yeah.
There is, but you can't watch Rogan. I
No.
believe you have to have
Yeah,
a
it has to be a
subscription.
subscription. That's what I thought.
Yeah, and they're keeping him because I mean it's all money. I don't
Yeah,
think
he's
it's-
receiving approximately, according to an article written like 2 days ago, he's receiving around 11 million streams per episode. And he releases one 5 days a week.
well, I mean, you're talking about the older generation, Gal.
Mm.
I was the other day, sitting and going through the remote through different live off the air stations. Every station is just loaded with Medicare ads. And I can't stand it. And it finally hit me. I said, well, I think I understand why. It's the only audience that keeps on watching off the air shows are probably the older generation with the TV and the cable and the remote. The younger
Either
generation does not.
Either that or they just have the cookies figured out so well that they identify you, and that's where it comes from. It could be it's just that you're such a known quantity
Yeah, right.
that no, seriously.
Yeah.
No, but he's talking
go
about
to-
the
I go
on
to
the
a-
air. He's talking about on the air broadcasting. It has nothing to do with cookies.
Come on, Spence.
Oh no! Oh, I see what you're saying. No, I thought you meant watching on, like you're watching on your computer.
No. I'm saying off
Oh, no,
the
it's
air.
Absolutely.
The younger
You're right.
generation is watching on the computer, on their laptop, on whatever. But the older generation is sitting there, and of course, all these maybe the companies are withdrawing commercials for other stuff. I mean, don't misunderstand me. There are commercials for some other stuff, but it's not like it was. I mean, right now, you can sit during a commercial break and see two ads with what's his name, football.
Joe Montana.
Either that or never mind.
Oh,
Okay.
Joe Namath.
Joe Namath.
Yeah, we're trying to sell you an advantage.
Hey, it's all has to do with Medicare. And the other guy that's doing it now, money.
Yeah.
I
agree.
JJ from
It's incredible. Some of the drugs they've come up with now too, and the crazy names. It's like that they just spin a wheel.
Yeah, but
letters?
but this is not that's got nothing to do with that. I mean, medication. People all across the
No,
age.
but a lot of these are targeted for older adults.
Yeah, but there's a lot of stuff targeted.
Yeah.
So here is the same thing. If you're talking about people that are watching or subscribing to Spotify, like Gal was talking about, yeah, the older generation is probably bringing the money, the subscriptions, and they're the ones listening to this. Although there are a lot of younger people listening to these artists because I think it's because it's easy listening, and you don't have to sit there and try to
They're
figure out.
classics.
I've seen in the last couple of weeks multiple YouTube videos. There's several musicians that
Yeah.
I follow on YouTube that do, like they'll talk about an older song and they'll get out and they'll explain the chords and they'll do all these things. And it's very good because they'll talk about the origin of certain songs and artists and all that. Rick Beato is one in particular.
Oh,
But I noticed that there have been several titles. I haven't gone in and looked yet to say that new music is being clobbered by older music for some reason.
Huh?
Young people are. This is what it said. I never dove into it to find out what they mean. But apparently, there is a rediscovering of older music going on.
Well, that was always, I think, happening. But yeah,
I think to an extent, but they're saying now that it has become so popular that and going back to vinyl. Well, I've never done that. I mean, I do have a turntable now. I do have a USB turntable. I have a couple of albums, but I never decided that, hey, I'm going to go back to vinyl for everything.
no.
Even though I have,
mean, that's a niche. It happens, but it's
no,
yeah.
I agree. But there are purists who still have tube amplifiers who listen to only vinyl.
Yeah.
But because I remember when the first time when CDs first came out, I remember going to a dentist, and I was out of town, so it wasn't my normal dentist, but I sat down in a chair and says, here, you can put these headphones on and listen to this CD while you're waiting, while your procedure's going on as a distraction. And she said, but I don't know whether this is going to last because people have said that because this is digital, that it's going to affect your brain in a negative way.
oh,
This is
COVID
the
misinformation.
1980s.
interesting. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So we'll
And
see
today
what's
you go to
happening.
the dentist, and they put on Netflix, and they ask you which show do you want to watch while
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
drilling it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So nothing changed.
We'll
Only
see
the
what
medium.
we'll see what would happen with Spotify. I mean, they're not going anywhere, but it's going to be an interesting story to see if more
Are
people
they
drop and all that.
making
But
money? As far as I hear, Spotify has never made a profit.
I don't know.
So it's the pets.com model.
Anyway, Spence, are you ready for special?
I am. Well, it's not really specials today.
It's
It's
very
let's look at some
special.
interesting new stuff today.
Yeah.
Because I thought it would be fun to go out and look. Normally, when the consumer show happens, is when I usually go and I look at that list. And that already happened, and it was like a virtual event. Really, I don't know if I think they had some on-site stuff, but I usually go and I analyze that and come up with some interesting new products. But I thought it'd be fun today, so I spent some time looking at some new, interesting stuff.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. And I want to thank sciencefocus.com that gave me a partial list of things to look at and some direction because they spent some of the stuff in here I didn't include. It was obviously either not appropriate or weird or not.
Let's
shipping.
do it.
Let's do it. Okay. So the Galaxy Z Flip 3, yet another, and I know this has been out for a while, but I don't know that it's been widely accepted yet. A new iteration of a folding smartphone. And what's interesting about this is it's got three cameras, 12 megapixel, two 12s and one 10 megapixel camera, each with a different purpose. And apparently people who use it like it. But It is rather limited in some cases, although the folding part of it this time. Remember, what was the one that folded and it was just one continuous screen? Was that was a Samsung product, right?
Yeah, but it
And it
did.
turns out that every
died.
time you moved it, it stressed that screen and eventually
Yeah.
it would break.
The first iteration of these, I mean, there's this line is the one that that's half the size of a regular one, and there's one that stays the same and doubles,
Yes,
right?
yes. Yeah, this is the half
So
size.
the
one.
first iteration
one.
of that double one, the screen would break, but
Yep.
they fixed that.
But the this is, I don't know that this is usually widely adopted. The list price on this is right up there with the most expensive iPhones.
Yeah, they're
So
expensive.
Don't
Yeah.
really know. They're very expensive. But if you need, I mean, part of this article that I read was that there was, they do have a focus on business users and apps that are tailored for business users. What that would be, I don't know. But it is available. You can buy it from some interesting places. Apparently, Verizon sells it. T-Mobile sells it. You can buy it on eBay as an unlocked device. So it's out there. The next one is the Sony HT-A9 speaker system, which is new and very expensive. I don't know that Sonos has a competing product that is used for the home entertainment environment. But this is the MSRP on this is $1,800. But what it does tell you is that it tailors the sound. It doesn't matter where you're sitting in the room. You get the same relationship to the sound. How they do that, I don't know. But the critics, or I should say, the reviews and the criticisms of it are very positive. So people like it.
Well, they got an $1,800 dollars worth of equipment to review for free. So,
oh yeah, but I mean, but the user, if you go where it's sold and look at user responses, if they're not being purchased, people like it. So
yeah, no, I understand.
Spending a lot of money. I mean, I have a kind of a mid-grade sound bar that I don't use very much with a subwoofer that does me just fine. I don't even have any satellite speakers anymore. But
the only way that I can figure out that you get the same sound, quality of sound, no matter where you sit, is that the sound that's coming out of every speaker is exactly the same. There's no.
No,
you have to wear
based on where you are.
You have to wear a transponder on your head.
Yeah.
So it picks you up and knows where you are sitting in the room. I didn't go too deep into the technology. All right. So the next one, Amnon, you need this. It is a sweat-proof mouse.
Yeah.
It has built-in fans to keep your hand cool. I mean, what
sounds like a Nick thing.
Everybody needs
I know.
it,
Nick got up. I mean, I wanted to see how many times does he sweat.
So I like the comment. It says, if you've ever played an online game, whether it's Fortnite, Call of Duty, Apex Legends, then you've experienced sweaty palms that come with going toe-to-toe with a cocky 12-year-old shouting abuse at you over the voice comms. Short of keeping a chalk dish and a chamois cloth besides a console, there's not a lot we can do about it until now. This is great. This is great. Fans built in. So like you had the chill pads for laptops, now you got a chill mouse for sweaty palms.
Yeah.
Great. So it is about $59 US. This next one is not something you're going to find in the home. It's not designed for, I guess you could buy it. If you had a home theater, you could put these in. But it is an individual seat with its own sound for each person in the theater. So everybody gets the same exact audio experience. Now, maybe it'll be customizable per person. But the point of this is that you get your own personal distraction-free environment where you sit in a chair. I mean, they've tried things like this before with individual speakers built in, like on either side of your head and all that. But this is where it integrated vibration and all this stuff. So a high-end theater would use this.
So you wouldn't hear the person next to you eating popcorn?
I don't know. That's good. Maybe they have anti-noise that gets rid of all that stuff, or they make it so loud you can't hear that. But
Yeah, but
honestly, it's a cool idea. I remember going to movies. They had smell-o-vision. They had one movie I went to one time had this thing that where when they would show, it was a 3D movie where they'd show the blood being splattered off of somebody being chopped up, that they would spray water on you. You'd think it seriously. And the smell-o-vision thing, that was a real thing too. They would put the smell out there in the theater. All these crazy ideas.
They're called those theaters you're describing today. They're called 4DX. There's a few in Los Angeles where they show like June is produced also for 4DX, and you see it, and the seats they tilt and they spray water at you and stuff like that. Yeah.
Disney did this with a couple of their shows.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking how much a ticket would cost to go to this type of.
A lot. But I mean, if it was it's a big upfront cost. But if you have, a wealthy person, you want to build a home theater and you want to have 6 seats. If they're, $50, $60, $70,000 a seat, not a big deal. So, I mean, you got that kind of money laying around, man, right?
Next.
Yeah, it's out in your yard. I mean, you just have it in boxes. So it's like you don't even keep it out of the rain anymore.
Yeah,
it's
cover.
Just,
leave it there. If it goes bad, you replace it.
Yeah, it's a big deal. All right, this next one is very interesting. I'm not an iWatch user. I do have a smartwatch, but it's an inexpensive $40 knockoff thing that I'm very happy with because I use it mainly for fitness tracking. And it has a oximeter. It's got a blood pressure is kind of unknown yet how accurate it is. It can give you information about your range. Like if you're having an episode of high blood pressure, it will tell you. And if if you turn it on during the middle of the night, it's going to show low. But this night watch magnifying clock dock for Apple Watch. Fascinating. It is a dome that you slide the watch in to charge, and it takes the image from the watch and projects it on the front of this dome. Excuse me. So it turns your watch into basically an alarm clock and display. Fascinating. A little expensive, $84, but still, if you want it, you'll get it, right? It's what, like a fifth of the cost of a nice iWatch? All right, this next one was very interesting, and this is a product. These are a series of products that are sold by, of all places, IKEA, but it is made for them by Sonos, and they do have the Sonos label on the products. But it's the form factors that make it easy, make it interesting. The 2 middle ones are just speakers, although they do have some very unusual mounting brackets and stands for them, IKEA designed. The one on the left is actually a picture frame that you put on the wall that is the speaker. It's Wi-Fi. You see the cords on this, and that's for power. But this is a Wi-Fi speaker, and you can either get custom-made art by buying a frame to put your art into that snaps over the front, or you can buy their acoustically transparent. They do have a bunch of different prints, so to speak, that you can buy to put over the front of the speaker, but you mount it on the wall. And the one on the right is actually, it is a lamp-based speaker that has what is it? A19 is the standard bulb stock, regular, it's a medium base bulb. Screw it in there, and you can add different types of lampshades to it that IKEA sells. So really very clever. And the nice part about it is the prices are reasonable. The Sonos stuff is very expensive. So I don't know how they got a deal with Sonos to produce this stuff and be cheaper than buying the actual Sonos stuff, unless there's functionality removed from it or something. They do also make a base station that I think is not required, but is used, like they have a puck that you can use to control if you don't want to use your phone app. But hey, it's very interesting, and I like the price points. I mean, the wall-mounted frame speaker is fascinating to me. It's $199, but still, if it's Sonos quality, it works well, and you can hide it on the wall and not see anything. It's actually pretty fascinating. Okay.
Wait,
So I
wait,
thought-
wait, wait, hold it a second.
what?
Hey, Nick.
Hey.
You gonna get that?
No.
It's actually cheaper than Sonos. Did you see the Sony stuff at the beginning?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, the HT A9 stuff.
So you don't need a mouse with a fan to play your games?
No,
With
I
your
actually
hands?
have a spare Logitech G500 in my closet because I thought mine was dying. So I've got a spare mouse already.
Or just to keep your hand cool, so your hand doesn't slide off the mouse in important moments while you're gaming.
Oh, of
Has
course.
a fan
so-
inside.
Oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm sure it
Yeah.
works great. I just
So if
Don't
it's just
necessarily need it.
is it a temperature controlled fan so you'll cool or warm your hand if you're outside?
I doubt it
playing?
has a compressor in it to make heat. But I guess I could be wrong.
It just
All right.
Gotta be-
it doesn't need a compressor. It just and turns the bulb to 100%, and it hits the.
You have to have USB-C though, so you can get enough amps through the cable.
All right, next.
All right. So this one's interesting. This is they call it the A500 Mini. It's a Amiga A500 Mini game station that emulates the Amiga 500, 600, and 120. 25 classic games, including Alien Breed 3D, Kickoff 2, Pinball Dreams,
Interesting.
and it's I mean
Probably a
it's
Raspberry
119
Pi.
119 pounds, which makes it about a 130 or so.
What'd you say,
So
guy?
it is
Probably a Raspberry Pi embedded inside with some
Probably,
software.
yeah.
Yeah.
so, but it's cool. Kind of, it's real classic retro stuff, and it's not that bad. Amazon's 139. So, this next one, this is not a single product. This is a page you go to on Amazon where you select options. What size monitor do you want, and what kind of quality you want to make this thing out of? So this happens to be one of the more expensive one, the 49-inch Odyssey G9 gaming monitor. It's QLED. Now that's not the same as OLED, but it is an amazing monitor. $1265 is the price, but it's just fun to go to the Amazon page and click through and see all the different options they have. They start at 19 inches up to 49 inches, and they have different resolutions. This is a 200. Let me see here. What was the speed on it? 240 hertz monitor. Damn. Can my eyes even see that?
You need
huge.
glasses.
But I mean, that's really fast. Need yeah, I need glasses anyway, but that's okay. All right. The next one is this BioLite Fire Pit Outdoor Smokeless Wood and Charcoal Burning Fire Pit. Very interesting. This actually has I think has a Wi-Fi control to it. But what it does is it's got a series of fans in here that will make the fire so intense that you don't get as much smoke. The problem with that is it burns your fuel up faster. But you can run it with charcoal, you can run it with wood. Hey, it's not as big as you would think by looking at it here. I looked at the picture, like in a picture that was comparing it to background. Not that big, but you don't need it to be that big if this generates that kind of heat. Next one is at the end of the list here is another interesting new product from Wyze. Wyze is the company that makes surveillance cameras. They do home monitoring. They make vacuums. They make all kinds of interesting stuff. Wyze started out with just a couple of cameras, and they've expanded over time. And I'm actually now in the middle of buying a home starter kit for monitoring. And I'm actually working with their support people because there was an issue with their webpage where they offered you buy 1 year of monitoring, which is $59, $4.99 a month. You don't have to use the actual police monitoring, but to have the system. You can do it without any system. But in this case, the customer I'm putting it in for wants to have the monitoring.
I don't see it on the page here.
What's that?
I'm trying to find out what you're talking about. I don't see it.
Wyze rechargeable step light.
That's at right below the
Yeah, I see that, but something about the home monitoring. What does that have to do?
Oh no, I'm talking about that. I'm just talking about
okay,
Wise the
sorry.
company,
Okay.
the company Wise. But this is yet another new product that came out, and these are linkable motion detector night lights that you can set up in the house. They're battery rechargeable. You recharges with USB-C. But once you can set them up so they'll link together logically, so that once you pass the first one, it will light the other ones on the same path. As a preview, you don't have to wait till you pass the motion sensor, which I thought was pretty interesting. So the $26 for a 3-pack, which
It's
is
like what they
reasonable.
have in Walmart freezers at night.
Yeah. Yeah. You go in and it's like as you walk down the aisle, it's like it turns on the lights in each one. Save money.
Yeah, it beacons you. Hey, did you see this one?
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But this is Wise as a company. I'm very impressed. I used their cameras. My son gave me their pro version of their programmable light strip and a bunch of bulbs to play with. I'm going to be playing with those. And I will be switching over my UMA monitoring system for the house over to Wise because
Where is that stuff made?
Where's what?
Where is it? An American company or is it also
It's an American
Chinese?
company, but they obviously use around the world manufacturing.
Wise?
So what?
What is Chinese? It's American?
Yeah, their headquarters is in the United States, and they do have. The person I spoke to was a support person was in the Philippines, but the team that designs the products is out of the United States.
Seattle, Washington.
Yeah.
For some reason, I
So-
thought they were Chinese. I know
I
their
did too.
hardware is Xiaomi based.
Yeah.
A lot of it.
And they do. They're a design and have somebody else build shop. So they'll do a lot like what the small networking companies did, where they go to a design build shop and say, "Here, build us a router." And that originally that was what was the name of that router company? Zyzel. Zyzel was around, and they built for other people, and they never had. And then they finally came out with their own product. So, but yeah, I like Wise as a company, and they're going to hopefully they work out the issue I have with their webpage with ordering this bundle, which is a really good deal, but I couldn't get the bundle to work in the shopping cart for some reason. So they asked me for the screenshots, and I'm waiting for them to get back to me to tell me how to buy this thing, so I can save some money on the setup. And that's it for not specials but unusual products today.
Thanks,
Chill,
Maze.
man. Chill.
Thank you. All right. Let's see what else we have here. Unless
Oh, and
somebody has something to talk
just
about.
one last thing, I didn't include it in the specials today, but because I saw it after the fact, was this, and I put the link in chat earlier today. Minimum viable computer
Oh,
that
yeah.
can be built for $15. It's a Linux computer with a screen that can run Doom apparently, but there's a caveat to say that for $15 you have to order quantities of 10,000 of all the parts. So to get the processor, it says is 14 cents when purchased in bulk. But it's kind of cool. You designed the board, built the board, the screen, got a USB-A port, SD card slot, USB-C port for charging only.
And all that for $15.
If you
But no
buy
Wi-Fi.
Yeah, it has no Wi-Fi, but you can plug in a Wi-Fi.
No, you can
adapter.
plug in a USB dongle, but
Yeah.
it's like there's no. The only connectivity is USB. It's an interesting project, but it's a brainy project more than anything.
It could
I
lead to
wonder
something
if he actually.
else.
I mean, he definitely made a prototype, so I wonder whether he if that's what he paid and he is selling these, or
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Because he said he had to order you would have to have ordered the parts in 10,000 units to get the
Right.
pricing. And that doesn't include the assembly costs, obviously. But he had the circuit board made. I think that was the single most expensive thing was the circuit board, and that was, let's see, PCB was $2.
Well,
That was the most expensive single
when you
component.
order in bulk.
Yeah, in bulk, exactly.
Right. So
But I mean,
$2 times 10,000, that's $2,000. So that's
So-
not what he did, right?
The I mean, this product mass marketed, if you could commit to making 10,000 of them and sell them, if it was $15 was the product cost and you sold it for 25, I don't know, could you make money? But the idea, it's just a cool idea to see. Remember the $99, was it the $99 computer that they were trying to do, Amnon?
I mean, the Raspberry Pi Zero is $5, right?
No, but I mean, they were trying to build a laptop for emerging nations that
yeah,
had no,
the,
with a crank on the side. Yeah, they
the
actually did.
$100
Yeah,
laptop. Yeah,
I think it worked out to be 200, but they actually did build them.
they
And-
got to the lowest they got was 200, and after that the project went defunct.
Yeah,
It was
a good
Clinton
idea.
era, right?
it was a
No,
good idea.
not Clinton era. It was Obama era.
And it literally had a crank on the side.
Yeah, one
had
laptop
solar.
per child. I think that was the name.
Yep.
I'm not that fast with that.
The foundation shut down in 2014. They started 2005. Yeah. It was an interesting project. One laptop per child. There's a lot that came out of it, by the way. I mean, part of it was the hardware, which was interesting, and a lot of software came out. They came out with drag and drop coding software that allowed kids to learn how to code, and tutorials and stuff like that. And you can there's still forks of that have evolved. There's another company that I'm guessing was part, at least somebody there was part of that project. They're making the Kano computers.
Was that to assemble kids build a computer themselves?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I bought one a while back. Kano, what was it? Kano, I think. Yeah, Kano. I'll bring it to the camera I'll show it in a sec. So it's and the Kano that I bought for about $150 is a Windows machine. It's a Windows 10 machine. So it's not even, like some proprietary Linux distribution like it was originally. Hardware wise, it can run a Windows environment. It's an interesting thing, and all of the software that they make, you can download it, for your machine and run it. So, so the educational value of it is accessible and reachable. So it's nice. They have a subscription program where you pay to get the new experiences and stuff like that. There's quite a lot that is free, that is good. So interesting project, definitely interesting.
Yeah, Kano PC $199 on Amazon.
Yeah.
Plus a bunch of their-
Kano.tech is their website.
and they have add-on sensor kit.
Is that Kano with K
Pixel.
or C?
With
run
an
the
A.
pro- run the program
K-A-
pixels.
N O. K-A-N-O.
Okay.
Kano. Yeah.
All right.
Stuff.
Federal communication here. Now we're going to have to check labels. The Federal Communication Commission voted unanimously Thursday to approve a proposal that would require internet service providers to share details about their plans in easy to read nutrition labels similar to those on food. The FCC action, required by law and included in President Biden's executive order on competition, is meant to address consumer complaints about surprise pricing and fees and make it easier to comparison shop for an internet provider. The proposal would require ISPs to include information about prices, internet speeds, data allowances, and other details on the label. With these broadband nutrition labels, we can compare service providers and plans, hold broadband providers to their promises, and foster more competition. So you wanna shop for certain provider, turn it over and look at the label and see what they have. Well, it's going to be interesting to see something like that.
Yeah,
And-
do you have a? I mean, the labeling will be better, but it's not like you're going to have an option. Your area
Right.
is going to have
Correct.
either one or two
Yeah.
options, and that's it.
That's true.
Yeah, a lot of effort for something. I mean, I agree about making things clear. I don't think it needs to be a law. I think it needs to be like common,
Yeah.
marketing practices. But
I mean, I
sound like
I
it's
love
not like you're going to the supermarket and there are 10 options.
I love the commercials for Spectrum now on TV or their internet. Don't get stuck with lower speed providers and it goes all the way down. We are, and it goes all the way up. And I'm saying, guys, you are the slowest ones now.
Sleight of hand.
It's all about the
Unbelievable.
perception,
Misdirection.
right?
The what?
It's all about perception.
Yeah. But they can do it. So did you bring that computer? I thought you
Yeah.
got it. Is that what you wanted to do?
So this is the previous generation. And I think I showed it on the show before.
I remember something. Yeah.
Yeah. And so this is the computer itself. It's touch screen. Let me zoom out.
And we can't hear you.
Okay. So stay there.
Yeah. It's a blue pill.
Okay. So it's a touch screen. And the computer is housed over here. Yeah, over here. Basically, if I'm looking at the size of it, it's their own PCB. So, but it's similar in size and in functionality of something like a Raspberry Pi. So this entire top section is basically the board with inputs and outputs on either side, power supply. The big red thing over here, that's a battery. And the blue circle thing, that's a speaker.
Mhm.
And they come disconnected and they give the kids a sort of an experience of assembling things, but it's not really. There's just two plugs. But it's interesting enough.
Yeah.
They do sell something that hooks up to the USB and some sensors that you can program, so you can add to it. And the cover for this touchscreen computer is also the keyboard. It connects. There are central connections over here, and it just sits as a docking station, basically. And once it's on, it just folds, and you can work with it flat. Now, it runs Windows. It comes with Windows 10 in S mode. You can take it out of S mode if you want to use the command line and stuff like that, and use the system more for other tasks. It has a slow
Processor.
slow CPU.
Mhm.
So let's say the first time I booted it up and ran Windows updates, I probably let it run for about an hour to do its thing, right? It took a long time, but afterwards, booting is fast. So optimizations for that are probably are working good. And it is rather convenient to work with. There's at least one kid, friend of the family, that when they come over, she always asks, "Can I play with the computer?" She loves the software on it. Um,
Nice.
the software is nice. There's like several approaches, and it's all focused to teach kids about computers, about coding, about interaction. This is what I'm showing is the old generation. The new generation they came out with works a bit differently. There's a lot of things. There's a lot more hookups inside. All USB based, so very modular. Nothing you fear to let your kid try it on their own. And the keyboard is actually wireless. It comes with a USB dongle, which I'm guessing that's the first thing that kids will lose. um,
Yes.
I mean, if you think, don't buy it for a kid who isn't interested in this, right? And you can try the software first by downloading it to your Windows and running it. So go to the site, download the software. But if you think you know a kid who will find this not only interesting, but also, try to figure out what they can do more with
Who
it,
would benefit from it?
I would definitely pay the $200 they're pricing the kit. It is worth it. It is a very well designed kit. It is a good computer. If you want a very nice Windows based touchpad computer in your kitchen, or in a central area at home that you think that would be you would like to interact with, right? Definitely, this is a good choice. So I really like this one, and I mean, they should probably pay us for saying this, but I wish they would.
Hmm.
But this is good stuff.
Good.
So
Good.
yeah.
All right. Listen to this. On Tuesday, Turkish police in 11 different provinces took 40 suspects into custody for an alleged money laundering scam perpetrated using the Twitch streaming platform. According to news agency, the suspects are accused of using stolen credit cards to buy bits, which are essentially the platform's virtual currency. Those bits were then allegedly sent to streamers, who then paid the scammers real money through 70 to 80% refund. So if the scammers bought 1,000 bits for $10, this would be a way for them to make $7 to $8 from a stolen credit card, and streamers to pick up the difference. Compound more stolen credit cards and much higher dollar amounts, and you end up with a scam that could total an estimated $9.8 million. This appears to be a long-running operation with an email paper trail going back 2 years. So they've been doing it for 2 years and finally got them. People find all kind of interesting ways to make money. The wrong way.
Yeah. And then they get caught.
And then they get caught. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Here's something we may be able to discuss a little bit. Washington, D.C., Texas, Washington State, and Indiana announced the latest lawsuit against Big Tech Monday, alleging that Google deceived users by collecting their location data even when they believed that kind of tracking was disabled.
What? They did that?
They did that.
No. But I checked the checkbox.
Yeah. So, there are all kind of ways to say, when you install an app, the app wants all kind of permissions, your location and your camera and your files and you see this here. You say, but I told him not to do it. I think all that checkbox does is it sends an email to Google and say, hey, I turned it off, so I dare you. And they say, oh, okay. Jeez.
Yeah.
It's
I always feel the same about these.
What?
It's like when you install Windows today, right?
Yeah.
You get to that page of privacy,
Right.
and
Off.
I do off. Yeah. First of all, why is it on by default?
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Second,
'Cause they hope you won't notice.
so if I switch it off, do you really not collect it?
No.
It's like,
No, it
come
just says
on.
that it just says you requested that they not collect.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
It's like that. Who's Verizon?
Hey, Nick.
Who's Verizon here though? Anybody Verizon?
No,
Not anymore, right? But they had to send out this thing where you had to opt out of their new technology they call it.
And that doesn't mean
relationship.
anything. But
No,
it
it
doesn't
doesn't
mean
mean it.
anything.
No. But you had to go and
Yeah.
physically find a way to opt out on the web page. You had to log
Yeah.
into the web page. You couldn't do it from your phone.
Nick, you got a new phone,
Yeah, I did.
an iPhone 13.
Yeah, I got the blue iPhone 13. Yeah, got
Nice.
it yesterday.
Okay, I
It
have a
was about-
question.
Yeah.
So, do you play Fortnite on it?
No, I don't play games on my phone.
Oh,
Why?
well, Fortnite hasn't been available on iOS since Apple yanked it from the Apple Store in August 2020.
Yep.
But you now are able to play it on iPhone once again, thanks to a closed beta of NVIDIA GeForce Now cloud
Yeah.
gaming service.
Mhm.
While it's
Yep,
not
you can play
quite
through
as
GeForce Now.
seamless as an experience as using a native app, this GeForce Now loophole works a lot better than expected.
Well, it's not really a loophole. I mean, GeForce Now allows you to stream
Yeah.
PC games to your phone, so it's not the mobile version of Fortnite; it's the
Yeah.
PC version.
And talking about Fortnite and all that, this week I'm going to call and see if Epic's attorney is going to be able to join us the next week or two.
Have you been talking with them?
No, I've been talking with my colonel in Israel, who is the father of the attorney. I talked to the
perfect.
attorney some time ago, not about this, but I figured, hey, I can get you to come and
Well,
join
let me know
us.
if you get that because I'd like to get him on our show too.
Sure. Yeah, I told Evan about that you are into gaming and all that, and we talk about it a lot. And here's the phone numbers. You can call him.
Cool.
That was yesterday. Yep.
Yeah, so I like the
So you like the
here's
phone?
yeah, this is the 8. This is the 8 Plus that I had, which I want to say is maybe 6 years old at this point. And the iPhone 13, it's a little bit smaller, but it doesn't have there's no bezels on the 13. It's just it's just top and bottom. So all you have is the notch.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's about time for a new phone. My birthday's coming up, so my parents got me a new phone, which I appreciate.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. Here's an interesting piece of information. I didn't know about this. Did you know that there's a full version of Microsoft Office? All the application, no limitation, which is available to all Microsoft account holders online. All you have to do is just search for free online office. The link was a little bit too long, but I went and I searched free online office. And yep, if you have a Microsoft Office, a Microsoft ID, then account ID, then you can go and use all the applications that are in Microsoft Office for free, and you can save
but
it.
the web version of them.
Well, I don't know which 365, I think.
Yeah, the web version. They work from within the web browser, exactly like Google Docs and Google Sheets and Google.
And you
slides.
save it to your own. You save it to your machine.
Yeah, you can save. Yeah, you can save files and everything. Yeah. It's their counterpart to the free Google.
So it's been out there
Office
for a
suite.
while, or is it something new?
No, it's been out there since they launched 365.
Oh,
There are the web application, but they're very limited compared to the desktop.
well, they're saying no limitation.
Well, there no limitation for you to use the web-based, but comparing the web-based to the desktop one, they are different.
Well, the article.
This is when you pay for 365, you get the exact web experience, but you also can download the application to your machine and use it locally, and you get exactly the same as a Windows 2016 or Office 2016 or 2019 installation. So these are the web-based application. You don't have any limitation on them, but they are limited compared to the desktop one.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
I see. So
they're
it's
good.
no
I'm not saying they're not good in any way. For most things, they're great.
Yep. And this is available if you have a Microsoft account,
which you can create for free, right?
Yeah.
Every live account is
And like I said, just search free online office and it'll come up.
Should I talk about my Microsoft experience this weekend?
Absolutely.
Interesting. I have a customer who has Office 365 on 2 machines, an accounting office, and they have 2 additional, they have 4 email accounts that are hosted by Microsoft. One for each of the employees, and then one that's 2 other, I call them dummy accounts, not really dummy accounts, but they are accounts that are used for admin purposes and for notification when something happens on their portal, it sends an email. Well, after the January 13th update that happened on one of their computers, 2 of those email addresses disappeared from Outlook. It was configured to show 4 addresses, 4 email addresses: the person, the user, their boss, and then these 2 dummy accounts. Finally, after spending a couple hours trying to figure out what was going on, figured out that those, in fact, were not. First, we thought it was a rule that was messed up. It wasn't the rule. The actual IDs were gone, missing, not configured. And when we tried to add them, we were unable to add them with the password that they knew was the current password, or we thought was the current password, and was unable to add them back into Outlook. And did some research on that and found out it could be that maybe it's a 2-factor authentication. Don't really know. Point is that we're going to try to reset the passwords, but I don't know how successful we'll be because they don't really have the details.
So you didn't solve it yet?
I didn't solve it yet.
Oh,
no, I'm hoping to. But the key now is that I've got to tell them what they need to do when they call Microsoft to try to reset these passwords. But I didn't realize that there is an option if you want to add an account, an email address to an existing Outlook, and that email account is a web-based mail, or set up with Microsoft. It could have 2-factor authentication turned on, which means you have to get a special code by logging into the online version of the email address and requesting a code so you can enable it to be added to a desktop. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But it was the update on January 13th that killed it. Because up till that date it worked. And then I looked at the history of updates, and sure enough, there were 3 updates on the 13th.
Yeah.
And
Keep
System
us.
Restore didn't work?
It's what?
System Restore?
It wouldn't put the email addresses back.
Of course not,
Unfortunately,
because it's
no.
data. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
Yeah, did you do something to your audio?
No.
Did you? Oh, but you tried to change something. Okay. The number of malware infections targeting Linux devices. Here's another reason for you to go back to Windows. Yeah. Rose by 35% in 2021.
What, from 2 to 8?
Most commonly to recruit IoT devices for DDoS attacks.
Makes sense.
A CrowdStrike report looking into attack data from 2021 summarizes the following. In 2021, there was a 35% rise in malware targeting Linux system compared to 2020. XOR DDoS, Mirai, and Mozy were the most prevalent families, accounting for 22% of all Linux targeting malware attacks observed in 2021. Mozy, in particular, had explosive growth in activity with 10 times more samples circulating in the wild the year that passed compared to the previous one. The XOR DDoS also had a notable year-over-year increase of 123%. They're trying. They're trying all the time. I don't know how much success. I'm sure there's success for systems that the sysadmin is not paying attention and securing it good. But they wouldn't be doing it if there were no results.
So here's the thing. I mean, I'm not saying that any of the information in the article is false. Everything is probably correct.
Yeah,
But it only gives percentage without numbers.
correct.
Right? So an increase of 123%.
Yeah, it could
I'm
be
not
from
saying
1
it's
to 2.
incorrect, but what's the base?
Yeah.
Right? Are
Yeah.
we talking about 1,000 machines? Are we talking about 100 machines?
Yeah.
Are we talking about 10,000 machines? Right? When you compare something like this, you know that when it's small, then any increase will be huge in
Right.
percentage.
Sure.
So,
Well,
I mean, it's like,
they
let's
said that
try and find a way of
the
telling a story.
article was saying that it's from CrowdStrike.
Yeah, I'm reading it on CrowdStrike.
Yeah,
and
so they
still,
don't have
I
numbers
get the
either
number.
over
They
there?
don't show any numbers. no.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, never mind. Now, where I was going to say,
There's only one number, and that is more than 30 billion IoT devices are projected to be connected to the internet
Yeah.
by the end of 2025.
Yeah.
So has nothing to do with the numbers collected.
yeah. All right, for all of you who are interested and love social network, according to a new report from the FTC, more than 95,000 people lost $770 million to scammers who found them via social media platforms in 2021. That's more than double the $258 million they say scammers made off in 2020.
I wonder how is it compared to those who find the scammers via email.
That's true. A good point. Yeah, I started again getting those messages. Hey, I've got your cam video, and I know where you're going to, and I know what you're doing. So either you send this money to my wallet, or I wish there was some way that you can send something back and get them. But
Send them a nude photo and ask, you mean this one?
Is that the one? And another thing for I don't know how it relates to most of our audience, but China Unicom has become the latest Chinese telecoms giant to be banned from the U.S. over significant national security and espionage concerns. The Federal Communication Commission said it had voted unanimously to revoke authorization for the company's American unit to operate in the U.S. The firm must stop providing telecom services in America within 60 days. Why 60 days and not right away? I don't know. The announcement comes after larger rival China Telecom had its license to operate in the U.S. revoked in October. U.S. officials said the Chinese government's control of the company gave it the opportunity to access, store, disrupt, and/or misroute U.S. communications. This, in turn, could allow it to engage in espionage and other harmful activities against the U.S. So now we
The
have.
reason they gave it 60 days is so they could have a chance to ante up a little bit. Obviously, they weren't giving them enough, so they know. Wait a second, now
maybe.
we want more now, and if you want to continue to play here, am I being cynical?
It's ridiculous when you come up with something and you say, "Oh, you have 60 days." Okay, everybody, buy as much as you can now. And those of you with Macs, researchers have uncovered advanced, never-before-seen macOS malware that was installed using exploits that were almost impossible. Somebody should have told me to switch. For most users to detect or stop once the users landed on a malicious website. The malware was a full-featured backdoor that was written from scratch, an indication that the developers behind it have significant resources and expertise. Dazzle Spy, as researchers from security firm ESET have named it, provides an array of advanced capabilities that give the attackers the ability to fully monitor and control infected Macs. Features include victims' devices, fingerprinting, screen capture, file download, upload, execute terminal commands, audio recording, and key logging. So, those of you with Macs, don't think that you are immune to that type of stuff. You need to watch out. And with that, I think I'll stop. Anything else? Nothing. Come on.
I haven't received enough
Push.
money yet from the Chinese government to resume commenting.
Well,
And 60 days, I'm waiting 60 days for them to increase their honoraria.
yeah.
Oh.
All right. Well, this show was, after last week, this show was slow. Nick, you're hosting next week.
I won't be here next week, actually.
Oh.
I'll be in the mountains.
Okay. All right.
Which,
fine.
Heading out of town from
which mountains? Which mountains?
The North Carolina mountains.
Oh, not the Caucasus or the Urals?
No, I'll be in an area called Lake Toxaway,
Okay.
which is in my favorite county in North Carolina, Transylvania County. So,
Well, say hello.
yeah, I mean it's Transylvania. So I mean,
Yeah.
what a great name for a
Yeah.
county. So I will
Okay.
out of town.
That's fine. Yep. Be safe. All right. So I guess that's it for today. Thanks, Nick. Thanks, Gal. Thanks, Spence. And good morning, Kathy, Hannah, Nabil, Mac, Norm, Katie and Dana, Dina, Arlet, and Micha, Eleanor, Sarid. Thanks, everybody, for tuning to Computers 2K Now. We hope you enjoyed and maybe learned something from our time together. Remember to practice safe computing. Back up your hard drive and update your virus scanner. We'll be back here next Sunday at 9, but you can always reach us at Computers 2K Now. Remember, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern. Nick is on Wilmington's 980 The Wave with his daily news program, and also on 107.9 FM the same time. You can listen to the recordings on nickcraig.com. You can listen to it if you're anywhere in the world by using your Amazon device and just tell her to play 980 The Wave. Tuesday at 7 p.m., Nick and Brian do their Infection podcast on Twitch at 7 p.m. twitch.tv/Infection podcast. This is for survival games. So thanks, everybody. Go back and warm up if you're local here. We'll see you next week.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.